keep this conversation going. Joining me now is Renato Mariotti. He's a former federal prosecutor and host of the podcast It's Complicated. Let's piggyback on some of the things Leland was talking about. If a crime, in fact, were committed, what are you watching for right now as this grand jury debates the facts?
Yeah, I think, look, what I'm watching for a couple things. First of all, whether or not there are any additional witnesses going in. There is some talk that there are going to be additional witnesses going into the grand jury, and I'm really interested to see exactly what the charges are. I mean, there's a lot of speculation a moment ago about a case that we don't know all the details of. So I'm interested in knowing exactly what the charges are and what the evidence looks like.
And the fact that this is unprecedented, I mean, you can't underscore that enough, right? We've never had something like this happen to this degree.
Yeah, I think, well, this is unprecedented in a few different ways. First of all, a former president has never been charged with a crime, to my knowledge. Okay, so that alone makes this unprecedented. Separately, at least based on reporting, there is a novel use of the campaign finance law in New York in this indictment. If that is true, I do question that. I do question whether or not this would be the appropriate case to bring that. But let's see. Let's wait and see what the evidence is and what the other charges are. And that's my approach.
Legally speaking, does a possible indictment prevent him from running for the White House in 2024?
It does not. It does not at all. And that's why, I mean, I will say some of the comments a moment ago, I don't think the indictments are all political decisions. I don't think ultimately this interfaces with politics in that way. I certainly, there are obviously political ramifications, which are beyond my purview. But one thing I would say is, he will still be a candidate. I think he'll be out on bond and he'll be able to do whatever he wants to do during the pendency of the case prior to trial, with obviously some potential restrictions on his activities and what he's saying about the case.
Renato, Trump's former personal attorney Michael Cohen will be on standby as a witness to testify in the hush money case. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, great question. Usually, witnesses are not called back into the grand jury. My understanding is, based on public reporting, is that Trump has actually asked for an attorney, asked an attorney to serve as a witness on his behalf before the grand jury. An unusual move, I think a mistake legally, actually a bad strategy on his part, but nonetheless, Michael Cohen is supposedly going to be coming in as a rebuttal witness. Ultimately, obviously, if there were charges in a trial, Cohen would be a central witness. And I think that's one of the issues, the problems that the Manhattan DA has.
Well, and Cohen has admitted to making false statements in the past. So is he a credible witness?
Well, I think his credibility is certainly going to be in question. He did admit to lying to Congress. He pled guilty to that. He pled guilty to fraud. He's not the only witness who for the government who has problems like that. I mean, I think a bigger issue for him may actually be that he's sort of built a career around criticizing Trump. He has a podcast that's critical of Trump. Obviously has very strong feelings against him. So he has a motive here that that I think the jury might question. But the question really for the Manhattan DA is, what other evidence do they have? I mean, they're not going to get a conviction solely based on Michael Cohen and some documents. They're going to need to have something more, and we're going to have to see what that is, if anything.
Anthony Cole, a former Department of Justice official, told Jonathan Capehart on Sunday that Trump, quote, has the effect of poisoning a jury pool. What do you make of that? What does he mean?
Well, I think what he means is that it's very difficult to find 12 jurors who don't have an opinion about Donald Trump. A strong opinion, an opinion that might influence their decision. That's the problem. I mean, I've been involved in cases that that had some, people who I thought had some notoriety, nothing close to this. And certainly I've watched trials that were important, trials in their day. The governor of my state was tried, and I watched the jury selection for that. But, ultimately, Donald Trump is somebody, because he was the president of the United States and before that a television personality, he is well known by almost everyone. And I think it's going to make jury selection complicated.
All right, well, it's going to be a busy day and a busy week, I think, at that. Former federal prosecutor Renato Mariotti, always appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.